Hey everybody, my name is Tahira Clayton. Today we are going to be doing a masterclass on how to learn a tune or what works for me. We're going to go through a couple of different ways to not only get to know a tune melodically, but to get to know it harmonically as well. That sets us up for making the tune our own and putting our own interpretation on it. So settle in with me. We are going to do some singing together and I'm looking forward to it. I'll meet you over at the piano.
East of the sun and west of the moon, dear, we will build a dream house of love, dear, near to the sun and the day and near to the moon at night. We're living in a lovely way, dear, living on love and pale moonlight.
All right, so we have our tune that we're going to be sitting with for the length of this class, which is East of the Sun and West of the Moon. So when we're talking about learning a tune, I like to start at the very, very basic baseline information that we need to know about the tune, right? These things are: who are the composer? When was it written? What is the form of the tune, right? So East of the Sun and West of the Moon was written by Bill Bowman, and it was written in 1934. There isn't a lot of historical context that this tune needs, but some tunes will demand you know their historical importance and where they were in their time in history. So 1934 for East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Then I like to talk about the theoretic basics of this tune. What is the form? For those of you who don't know what form is, that means the organization of the tune. A lot of the time, a song is organized into what we call an AABA form. This is a really simple form. The A's sound mostly the same. The B's give you something different, okay? So a very common form when we're talking about Black American standards are AABA. Another really common form that we're actually going to be dealing with today in East of the Sun is A, B, or A and A prime, meaning that we have two halves of a song that make a whole, all right? East of the Sun is a song that has two halves that make a whole. I like to be thinking about the terms of the form right from the beginning because this helps us when we're thinking about phrasing or melody. This also helps us when we start talking about improvisation. So if there's one thing to take from this section, it's what is the form of the tune? How do we figure that out? We are here at the piano. In front of me, I have a very simple lead sheet that you will be able to download over at Second Line Artists on their website. And on it, it will have everything that we're going to talk about in this next section, which is the harmony and the melody of the tune. So we're going to assume that we know the melody for East of the Sun and West of the Moon. All right, a great tune. Once we know the melody, we, a lot of the time, think that we're done learning the song and that we're ready to go sing it. That's not accurate, actually. We've actually got to go back to the music or back to our ears and deal with the chord changes in what I consider a real way, right? Part of our job as vocalists specifically, and the thing that we can do that nobody else can do, is convey the meaning and the feeling of a tune through lyrics, right? But another way that we convey feeling through our singing is by how we sing notes and the notes we decide we're going to sing. We give ourselves a really great foundation of these notes when we know what's happening behind us, usually with the band, harmonically. So we're going to do an exercise that is very simple. It's where we're going to be singing the roots of the chord changes in the tune East of the Sun and West of the Moon. I'm going to play these on piano and I'm going to encourage you to sing along. All right. And we're going to be just playing the root movements. So that means our first chord is an E flat major 7. We're going to be singing and playing or playing in E flat. All right. So we're going to start here with our root movement. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quick movement here. Can you hear the melody? This should sound familiar. Second half. Exactly, right? So for some of us who are new to this, right, we may find this challenging, and that's okay. Keep getting that root movement in your head and in your mind. Keep singing that, because hopefully what you're able to hear in time is the melody over these bass notes that you're playing, right? This is a foundation that's going to help us craft our harmonic ideas. All right, so we just left the gym, did our workout, and sang our root movement. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for you the third movement of this tune, meaning in my hand, I'm going to be playing the thirds of each chord change that we have in the tune East of the Sun. This time, though, I'm going to be singing the melody over the third movement so that you can start marrying these two ideas together, the idea of hearing the thirds and singing the melody as you're going along. All right. So here are the thirds to East of the Sun and West of the Moon with me singing along. All right. So we're in the key of E flat. First chord is an E flat major 7, meaning our first third is a G. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Near to the sun in the day and near to the moon at night, we're living in a lovely way, dear. Living on love and pale moonlight, just you and I, forever and a day. Love will not die, we'll keep it that way. Up among the stars we'll find a harmony of life to a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. East of the sun and west of the moon. You did it. Good job. All right, so we just finished singing the melody over our third movement. And you may be wondering why in the world I have you doing this. And it's because we're going to get ready to talk a little bit about how we interpret a song and how we take the information we just practiced and put it into our own interpretation of the music. So let's go back. We started here with East of the Sun and West of the Moon. On the lead sheet that you've downloaded, you'll be able to see the written out melody for East of the Sun and West of the Moon. And one of the reasons why I really like this tune is because the melody itself lends itself to a lot of really great interpretation. For my vocalists who have lyrics, I'm going to encourage you to take a look at the lyrics to East of the Sun and West of the Moon off of the lead sheet. Because in that, we get to just tell our story, right? This really beautiful love song, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, dear, right? When we're talking about interpreting a lyric, we're trying to take our speech level and turn it into a vocal level. So our very first lyric that we have in East of the Sun is, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear, right? When I hear those lyrics, I hear directions, actually, to where we're building a house. We literally just said it. We said East of the Sun and West of the Moon. That's where we're going to build our dream house of love, right? So that is a way that we could sing this song for somebody listening, right? If I'm giving directions, that to me means I'm trying to be very clear about what it is that I'm saying, right? So maybe I'll decide to phrase it like this. Here's the melody for our reference. East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Okay, that's the written melody. Let's try an interpretation. So we just said we were giving directions to this house we're getting ready to build, right? So I'm going to say East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Okay, very clear directions. Let's give it a try. Let's see what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Right? Elongating, adding some pauses, adding some accentuations to try to get to the heart of what it is that we're saying, right? This is sort of a benign tune. It's a really nice love song, a really simple, easy love song, directions to building this house of love. How do we convey that the best way possible? Let's take a look at the second lyrics. We'll build a dream house of love, dear. Near to the sun and the day, and near to the moon at night, we're living in a lovely way, dear, living on love and pale moonlight, all right? So to me, and again, this is just my interpretation, and I encourage you to find your own, right? To me, we are sort of manifesting what it is our life is going to be, manifesting how we're going to live, not even just where, but how we're going to live. To me, this colors the way that I would sing any type of tune. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is similar to what I've done here, where I've sung the melody, spoken through the lyric, and then tried to rephrase the melody based off of what I spoke. I'm going to challenge you to do the same thing for the rest of the tune. Sing the melody, speak the lyric, and then try to speak the lyric the same way you would say the melody. These are the ways that we start to build a little bit of interpretation and start adding our own color onto these standards. The beautiful thing about the vocal instrument, like many instruments, is that it has a lot of flexibility and it has a lot of potential to have many different colors, many different timbres. Our tone is the milk and honey, the crux of everything that we do. And our tone can be improved upon, but I like to say that tone is what naturally comes out of us. It's what we naturally produce without having to try too hard. But we take that raw substance, that tone, and we can learn a few tips and tricks to start shifting and molding and shaping a tone to help it enhance what it is that we're doing vocally. We were talking about in our previous section some possible interpretations of the tune East of the Sun and West of the Moon, right? It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but we're giving directions to the house and home of love that we're sharing with our partner, maybe with our family, maybe even with ourselves. We're talking very directionally about this. And that, to me, is going to influence the way that I go about singing this tune, right? So we talked a little bit about the first lyrics. We have East of the Sun and West of the Moon. We'll build a dream house of love, dear. We're near to the sun and the day and near to the moon at night. We're living in a lovely way, dear. Living on love and pale moonlight. So if you're listening closely, I'm giving away some of my secrets of how I'm going to phrase this already, right? How we speak and how we lean in. One main trick that we have as vocalists is vibrato. I think vibrato is a very expressive tool when we're singing. It's also one of the most natural sounds that we make. Another term for vibrato is called a sympathetic vibration, and we're able to do that when our voice is completely and totally relaxed. Now, if we're singing a tune about building a house of love for ourselves, that to me, I'm gonna go in the realm of relaxation a little bit, right? It's a feel-good thing. So I'm gonna use my vibrato to help me talk about that a little bit. So we have a couple of different types of vibrato. We have a fast one. That trembles very, very quickly. We can also have a vibrato that is a little bit slower, where the waves are a little bit wider, right? That would be more like right? We're getting those waves a little wider. That's going to be the vibrato that I use in this tune, and I'm going to challenge you to do the same. Okay, so let's take the first line. We're going to get really, really comfortable with this first line today. All right? So we have East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Right? That's one sound that we have. Now, let's take the vibrato completely out. Let's say we're not going to mess with the vibrato. We're going to play it straight. Let's see what happens. And I want you to make a decision on what interpretation you prefer better for yourself, okay? Here's a straight tone East of the Sun. I'm going to have to try this, okay? All right, here we go. East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Okay? Straight tone versus vibrato. What do you think? That's a tool, okay? One other color timbre that I'm going to offer to you is our tone has the ability to take shape dark or a little bit lighter. My tone tends to lean towards the darker end of the spectrum, but as we get more comfortable with our voices, we can lighten up that tone or darken it as we see fit. So I'm going to give you two examples of some tone coloring that we can do. I'm going to start with a dark sort of sound, and let's see how we feel about that. All right? Let's go. So here's a darker tune. Still my natural tone, but I'm taking my dial and I'm just going to turn it a little bit darker, right? Technically, that means we're lifting up our soft palate a little bit, okay? Here we go. Let's try it. A little quicker. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Darker tone.
let's lighten it up and see what happens. So I'm taking my darker tone and I'm going to turn it just a little bit lighter. Technically, that means that our soft palate is still lifted, but our hard palate is a little bit more engaged with a little bit of a smile, okay? Still my same natural speaking voice, my natural singing voice. We've just turned the dial to lighten up the sound. All right, let's give it a try. Let's try it here. Here we go. East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear. Lighter sound. Okay, so depending on what it is that you're trying to say, depending on what it is that you're trying to interpret, there are two tools right away that you can use: vibrato, straight tone, a darker, sort of richer sound, or a lighter sound. You're capable of all of those things. Try to mess around with it and see what feels good. So we have gone through quite a bit together today. Thank you for sticking around. I'm going to take a look at my trusty phone. What I have on here, you'll be able to download too, which is a sheet that sort of details everything that we've been doing. But before we wrap up, I wanted to just offer a couple more things to think about. All right. So the whole idea behind this music is we have these standards that we then take and try to make our own after we've paid respect to the composers and the lyricists, right? I'm going to offer to you that you really take the time to learn your melodies. That can be from singers like we talked about before. It can be from your favorite instrumentalists. It can be from sitting down with a big fat fake book and learning the melody as honestly as you can. And I like to say honestly instead of correctly, because an honest melody gives you a lot of options, whereas a correct melody is just kind of square, right? So really take the time to learn your melodies in a real way. I'm also going to encourage you to step outside of the box when you're singing and interpreting these tunes and this music. The beautiful thing about partaking in this lineage is that you do have a lot of masters that you can go to and you can hear their interpretations, and we honor those. But I'm also going to encourage you to hear the music the way that you hear the music and be brave in that. Don't be apologetic about it. Allow yourself to really step outside of the box of what you know and to create something new. That's why we spend the time singing our root movement and singing our thirds and learning the changes and learning the melody, so that we know those things so inherently well that then we can sort of rip up that box and create something new and unique to us, right? Most importantly, I'm going to encourage you to trust your interpretations, trust what you are doing. There are wrong answers sometimes because this is life, right? But I think there is something to be said about being rooted and grounded in the choices that you decide to make, especially when they are informed, right? And lastly, be natural. Let yourself speak your story that is true to you. I encourage vocal transcriptions. I encourage transcribing. I encourage learning as much information as you can. But I also encourage you to allow those things to inform who you are as an artist and as a vocalist. Be natural. Let your natural voice speak through and share the stories that only you can tell. So a couple of extra tidbits to sort of wrap up all of this stuff that we've been doing and learning our tune today. Congrats, you made it to the end. Well done. Thank you for spending some time with me and Second Line Artists today. I just wanted to recap what it is that we talked about. We did a few different sections. So the first thing are very basics, right? What is the song that we're singing? Who wrote it? What's the form? Right away. Next, after that, we go into learning our melody. Once we learn our melody,
We're talking about harmony now. What is the harmony? What is the root movement of our tune? What is the third movement of our tune? We can even expand off of that. What are the sevenths? Are there extensions? Can we sing those? One of my favorite things to do is to arpeggiate the chords that we're singing, right? For example, our E flat major 7 that we have gotten so comfortable with together. Sing that with me. Simple arpeggiating all the way through the tune really gets you rooted in the sound and the harmony of the tune, right? Once we've done all that business, we can start talking about interpreting our song. How do we speak? How do we speak the lyrics of the song? And shifting that into singing, right? Once we've learned a tune, we get to interpret a tune. Once we've interpreted a tune, we get to take that interpretation and let it inform the way that we color, the way that we use our tone, the way that we use our timbre. We talked about a couple of tricks that we can use with those two, our vibrato or straight tone, a darker tone or a lighter tone, right? And then after all of that, we take this information. It's like building a nice sandwich that you're going to eat, right? You've laid your foundation. You've added all of your good stuff in. You've added your top layer of bread. And then you get to take a bite. And taking the bite is trusting everything that you've done, all of the prep work that you've done to learn the tune, all of the emotional work that you've put in to interpret the tune, and then all of the technical work that you've done to use your tone and your timbre to color and shade the tune to give off the meaning that you're hoping to give off. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. My name is Tahira Clayton, and I hope to see you around soon. Enjoy learning your tunes, and I can't wait to hear you. 1, 2, 1, 2.
East of the sun and west of the moon, dear, we will build a dream house of love, dear. Near to the sun and the day, and near to the moon at night. We're living in a lovely way, dear, living on love and pale moonlight. Just you and I, forever and a day. Love will not die, we'll keep it that way. Up among the stars we'll find a harmony of life to a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. We're east of the sun and west of the moon. Sha-do-da-do-la-do-da-do-da-do, da-do, do-da-day, la-do, la-do, ba-do-ba-do-le-o, do-da-do-do-did, ba-do-ba-do-did-did, ba-did-li-dee-ah. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear, we will build a dream house of love, dear. We're near to the sun and the day. We're near to the moon at night. We're living in a lovely way, dear. We're living on a just you and I, forever and a day. Love will not die, we'll keep it that way. We're up among the stars, we'll find a harmony of life to a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. We're east of the sun and west of the moon.